Greendale was a town known for its serene landscape and close-knit community. Nestled in the hills, it was a place where everyone knew everyone, and life moved at a gentle pace. However, that peaceful rhythm was violently disrupted when a series of unsettling disappearances began to plague the town. It all started with Emily Johnson, a local school teacher, who vanished without a trace one chilly autumn evening. The town's close-knit nature meant that news of her disappearance spread quickly, and within hours, fear had gripped every household. As days turned into weeks, other residents began to disappear under similarly mysterious circumstances. Each time, a single, cryptic note was found at the scene, taunting the authorities and leaving the townspeople in a state of dread. Sheriff Sarah Miller was the first line of defense against this growing panic. A dedicated officer with a reputation for her diligence and keen investigative skills, Sarah found herself at a loss. Her initial efforts to track down the culprit led to a series of dead ends. The notes offered no substantial leads, and the seemingly random nature of the disappearances made it difficult to discern a pattern. In her desperation, Sarah reached out for external help. This was when John Carter, a private investigator with a reputation for solving complex cases, entered the scene. John had recently moved to Greendale, seeking a quieter life after years of high-stakes investigations in larger cities. Drawn to the case by the sheer mystery and the town's desperate need for answers, John agreed to assist Sarah. John's arrival in Greendale was met with a mix of hope and skepticism. The townspeople were wary of outsiders, but they were also eager for any glimmer of hope. Sarah and John quickly established a working relationship, combining her local knowledge with his investigative prowess. They began to piece together the clues left behind by the mysterious perpetrator, trying to uncover any links between the disappearances. As they delved deeper into the town's affairs, they discovered that the seemingly random disappearances were not as unconnected as they first appeared. There were subtle hints of a larger, more sinister agenda at play. The notes left behind were not just taunts, they were part of a puzzle that seemed to be leading them toward a hidden, dark secret of the town. The investigation revealed a town filled with secrets and hidden tensions. Long-standing grudges, buried family histories, and concealed pasts emerged as potential motives for the abductions. Sarah and John began to suspect that the disappearances might be connected to a much deeper and more personal conflict within Greendale. Tensions mounted as the town's fear grew, and rumors began to spread about potential suspects and conspiracies. The community's trust in its safety and unity was eroding. Sarah and John had to navigate not only the mystery of the disappearances, but also the rising paranoia among the townspeople. Their search for answers was becoming increasingly urgent, as each day brought new disappearances and new threats to the already fragile peace of Greendale. With each clue they uncovered, Sarah and John felt they were getting closer to unraveling the mystery. Yet, the deeper they went, the more they realized that the truth was going to be far more complicated and dangerous than they had anticipated. The town's fear was only the beginning. The real challenge lay in exposing the shadowy force behind the abductions and putting an end to the terror that had overtaken Greendale. As Sarah Miller and John Carter continued their investigation into the mysterious disappearances, they started to uncover a tangled web of deceit that seemed to be woven into the very fabric of Greendale. The initial clues, cryptic notes, and testimonies from witnesses suggested that the disappearances were not random, but part of a larger, orchestrated scheme. The more they dug, the more they realized that the town's seemingly tranquil surface masked a network of lies and hidden agendas. John, with his experience in uncovering secrets, began to focus on the patterns in the notes left behind. Each note contained subtle references to local landmarks and individuals, indicating that the perpetrator had an intimate knowledge of Greendale. John deduced that the notes were not just random threats, but carefully crafted messages designed to taunt and mislead. The notes hinted at a shadowy figure who had manipulated events from behind the scenes. Sarah and John decided to investigate key figures in the town who might have the motive or opportunity to orchestrate such a conspiracy. They interviewed a number of people, including local politicians, business owners, and longtime residents. Their inquiries revealed that Greendale was rife with long-standing grudges, secret rivalries, and hidden relationships that could provide motives for the disappearances. One of the central figures they investigated was Mayor Richard Thompson. The mayor had a reputation for being a shrewd and calculating politician, and his connections to various town leaders made him a prime suspect. Sarah and John discovered that Thompson had been involved in a number of shady deals and cover-ups over the years. However, while their investigation revealed questionable behavior, they found no direct evidence linking him to the disappearances. Another key individual in their investigation was Elizabeth Carter, a wealthy landowner with a history of disputes over property rights and personal grudges. Elizabeth's connections to several of the missing persons and her secretive nature raised suspicions. John and Sarah discovered that she had been involved in a series of contentious legal battles, and her wealth provided her with the means to orchestrate elaborate schemes. Despite their suspicions, they could not find any concrete link between Elizabeth and the disappearances. As Sarah and John dug deeper, they stumbled upon a hidden criminal organization that seemed to be operating within Greendale. This organization, known only as the Phantom, was a shadowy entity that appeared to have its fingers in various illegal activities, including extortion, blackmail, and smuggling. The Phantom's influence extended into many facets of the town, including its politics, business, and social circles. The organization's existence was hinted at in the cryptic notes left behind at each crime scene. Sarah and John discovered that the Phantom was not a single person but a network of individuals who worked together to maintain control and manipulate events from behind the scenes. The organization used fear and intimidation to maintain its grip on the town and to keep its operations hidden from view. As they pieced together the clues, Sarah and John realized that the Phantom was more than just a criminal organization, it was a deeply entrenched part of Greendale's social fabric. The organization had managed to infiltrate various aspects of town life, making it nearly impossible to discern who was involved and to what extent. The intricate web of lies and deceit was far more complex than they had initially imagined. The investigation was taking its toll on Sarah and John. The pressure of solving the case, while dealing with the growing paranoia among the townspeople, was becoming increasingly intense. They faced threats and attempts to obstruct their progress, further complicating their efforts to uncover the truth. Despite the challenges, Sarah and John remained determined to unravel the mystery. They knew that exposing the Phantom and its network would require not only uncovering the truth, but also navigating the dangerous web of lies that had ensnared Greendale. With each new revelation, they moved closer to the heart of the conspiracy, aware that the truth they sought was buried deep within the shadows of the town's past and present. The investigation into the disappearances took a dark turn when John Carter was abruptly abducted by the criminal organization known as the Phantom. Sarah Miller, now grappling with the reality of their perilous situation, found herself facing a crucial challenge: rescuing John and dismantling the organization before more lives were lost. John's disappearance sent shockwaves through Sarah's investigation. The Phantom's actions suggested a deliberate attempt to hinder their progress and exert control over the situation. The town was plunged into further chaos, with increasing fear and mistrust among the residents. Sarah knew she had to act swiftly to both find John and continue the investigation into the Phantom's activities. Sarah began her search by retracing John's steps leading up to his abduction. She reviewed surveillance footage from various locations around town, hoping to find clues that could lead her to John's whereabouts. The footage revealed that John had been followed on multiple occasions before his abduction. The Phantom's operatives were clearly monitoring their every move, making it difficult for Sarah to determine how the organization had managed to capture John without her noticing. As Sarah dug deeper, she uncovered evidence suggesting that the Phantom's influence extended beyond the town's boundaries. She discovered that the organization had connections with several criminal networks operating in neighboring regions. This realization made the search for John more complicated, as Sarah had to expand her investigation beyond Greendale. She enlisted the help of law enforcement agencies in surrounding areas, sharing information and seeking assistance in tracking down the Phantom's hideouts. During this search, Sarah made a crucial breakthrough when she received an anonymous tip that led her to a remote warehouse on the outskirts of town. The tip hinted that John might be held there. With the help of a small team of officers, Sarah approached the warehouse cautiously, aware that it could be a trap set by the Phantom. Inside the warehouse, Sarah discovered a hidden chamber where John was being held. The sight of him, bound and disheveled, was both a relief and a cause for concern. John had been subjected to intense interrogation, but he managed to provide Sarah with valuable information about the Phantom. He revealed that the organization's leader was a man known only as the Shadow, a figure shrouded in secrecy who had a personal vendetta against Greendale. John's account detailed how the Shadow had manipulated events to create chaos and fear in the town. The Shadow's ultimate goal was to avenge a perceived injustice from his past, using the Phantom's network to exact revenge on those he believed had wronged him. Sarah realized that the Shadow's motives were deeply personal and rooted in a complex web of past grievances and betrayals. With John safe, Sarah and her team intensified their efforts to locate the Shadow. They followed leads that pointed to various locations linked to the Phantom's activities. Each new piece of information brought them closer to uncovering the Shadow's identity and his plans. Sarah's investigation revealed that the Shadow had once been a respected member of the community, whose fall from grace had driven him to seek revenge through the Phantom. The pursuit of the Shadow took Sarah and her team to an abandoned mansion on the edge of town. This mansion, once a symbol of prosperity, had become a sinister hideout for the Phantom's operatives. Sarah prepared for a confrontation, knowing that the Shadow was likely to make a final stand to protect his secrets and his organization. The final showdown between Sarah and the Phantom was tense and dangerous. The mansion's dark corridors were filled with hidden traps and armed guards, making it a treacherous battleground. Sarah, using her investigative skills and tactical training, managed to navigate the mansion and confront the Shadow. The confrontation revealed the true extent of the Shadow's motives and his deep-seated hatred for the town that had once been his home. With the Shadow's capture, Sarah and John were able to expose the full extent of the Phantom's criminal network. The organization's operations were dismantled, and the town of Greendale began to recover from the trauma of the past weeks. However, the emotional and psychological scars remained, reminding Sarah and John of the personal cost of their pursuit of justice. As Greendale began to heal, Sarah and John were left to reflect on the impact of their investigation. They had confronted the darkness hidden within their community and had emerged victorious, but the shadows of the Phantom and the Shadow would linger in their memories. With the Shadow apprehended and the Phantom's network dismantled, the town of Greendale began to emerge from the dark cloud of fear that had loomed over it. The sense of relief among the townspeople was palpable, but the impact of the revelations was profound and far-reaching. For Sarah Miller and John Carter, the end of the case marked the beginning of a new chapter in their lives, shaped by the truths they had uncovered and the personal sacrifices they had made. The final confrontation with the Shadow had been both dramatic and revealing. In the abandoned mansion, the Shadow's true identity was unveiled. He was Edward Grant, a former high-ranking official in Greendale whose fall from grace had been triggered by a series of personal and professional betrayals. Grant had once been a respected member of the community, but a scandal involving embezzlement and corruption had ruined his reputation and cost him everything he held dear. Consumed by bitterness and seeking revenge, Grant had orchestrated the Phantom's criminal activities to exact his vengeance on those he felt had wronged him. Sarah and John's investigation revealed that Grant had meticulously planned his revenge. The disappearances and the manipulation of the town were part of a larger scheme to destabilize Greendale and expose its underlying corruption. Grant had hoped that by creating chaos, he could force the community to confront its own flaws and injustices. His actions were driven by a deep-seated sense of betrayal and a desire to hold the town accountable for its perceived failures. The uncovering of Grant's motives brought both closure and a sense of disillusionment. The townspeople were forced to confront the uncomfortable truth about their community. Beneath its facade of tranquility lay a web of secrets and moral failings. Many of the town's leaders and influential figures had been involved in unethical practices, contributing to the environment of distrust and corruption that had allowed the Phantom to operate with impunity. As the full extent of the conspiracy came to light, Sarah and John worked tirelessly to ensure that justice was served. Grant was brought to trial, where the evidence presented by Sarah and John exposed the intricate details of his plan and the extent of his manipulation. The trial was a highly publicized event, and the town's revelations were met with shock and disbelief. The process of rebuilding trust and repairing the community's reputation was a long and arduous one, requiring transparency and a commitment to addressing the issues that had been uncovered. Despite the resolution of the case, the personal impact on Sarah and John was significant. Sarah, who had dedicated her life to serving her community, found herself grappling with the realization that her efforts to protect Greendale had been undermined by the very people she had trusted. The experience had tested her resolve and forced her to confront the limitations of her role as sheriff. She emerged from the ordeal with a renewed commitment to reforming the town's systems and ensuring that such a breach of trust would not occur again. John, on the other hand, found himself reflecting on the nature of justice and the personal cost of his work. The case had been one of the most challenging and dangerous of his career, and the emotional toll of witnessing the impact of the Phantom's actions weighed heavily on him. He had come to Greendale seeking a quieter life, but had found himself entangled in a complex and dark chapter of the town's history. The experience had deepened his understanding of the human capacity for both good and evil and had reinforced his belief in the importance of uncovering the truth, no matter how uncomfortable it might be. As Greendale began to heal, Sarah and John remained in the town, working to help rebuild the community and address the underlying issues that had been exposed. Their efforts were instrumental in fostering a sense of unity and renewal among the townspeople. The scars of the Phantom's reign would not be easily erased, but Sarah and John's commitment to justice and their determination to confront the darkness had laid the groundwork for a brighter future. In the end, The Shadow of Deceit was a story of uncovering hidden truths and confronting the shadows of the past. It was a testament to the resilience of a community and the unwavering dedication of those who sought to bring justice to light. As Greendale moved forward, the lessons learned from the investigation served as a reminder of the importance of integrity, transparency, and the relentless pursuit of truth.